Their identity is found in what they do for a living. But now what happens? They get fired from their job, or they retire from their job. What does that mean for their identity? What means that they're going to be lost again? Because their identity is tied directly to the fact that they're a teacher. But now I'm not teaching anymore, and that's why I am so lost. Now I'm not an executive anymore. I've been booted, and I'm lost. When we tie our identity to what we do, how we look, how much money we have, where we live, what kind of clothes we have, how many friends we have, and those external factors are removed, the person becomes lost. Unable to move on because of the rejection that they experience when those external factors are removed. So if you have a fear of being rejected, you need to look at your identity. Where is it based? Is it based in external factors, or is it based in internal factors? And you're probably sensing that's where it should be based. Your identity should be based internally. What does that mean, Mike? Well, it means it should be based on your abilities, your gifts, your graces, your personality, who you are on the inside. Your identity should be based on your faith also. That's part of the internal factors. When your identity is based internally, then when those exterior factors change, it doesn't affect your identity because you are who you are. And rejection, yeah, it hurts, but you're going to move on because you are who you are, and you are okay with who you are on the inside. Does this make sense?
Amen.
Great.
Let's take a look at that Tim Tebow character again. If his identity was solely tied to being a quarterback in the NFL, he would be lost right now. Rejected 3 times, and it's a public rejection. He'd be lost. But this young man is not lost. I mean, he's making commercials. He's working for ESPN as a sports analyst. He's traveling around the country giving motivational speeches that are faith-based. You see, his identity is on who he is on the inside. It's not connected to be a quarterback. Oh, yes, he'd still like to play quarterback in the NFL. But his life is going to continue, even though that chapter's probably over, because his identity is internally based on his gifts, his abilities, his personality, his faith in God. If you struggle with the fear of rejection, look at your identity. Where is it based? External or internal? The last thing that you can do if you really struggle with a fear of rejection is to learn what you can from every experience where you have been rejected. Even though it hurts to be rejected, every experience where we get rejected offers us an opportunity to learn. 4 days ago, our son Paul called me. Told me that his girlfriend, probably is going to eventually be his fiancée, didn't make the final cut for this job that she had her heart set on. She made it through the first round of interviews and was really encouraged by that because she really thought she did outstanding. But they didn't offer her a second interview. So she's out, feeling rejected. So Paul called me and said, "Dad, you're always good with words. You picked me up in the past. Tell me what I should do. Give me some advice on what I can say to Laura," that's her name, that'll pick her spirits back up again. And so I shared with Paul some things. And one of the things I shared with Paul is, Paul, try and help her to see that this rejection has some lessons there for her. Help her to learn from being rejected. Every rejection can give us lessons to learn from. Sometimes you have to dig deep. Sometimes you might have to use someone else to help you find out what those lessons are, but they are there. And when you learn those lessons, they can help you perhaps avoid rejection in the future, or at least help you deal with rejection when it comes again. Deal with it rather than fear it. Rejection is a bummer. I said that when we began our service. We don't like to be rejected, but it happens. And so when it happens, learn what you can. Try and move on. When it happens, look to see where your identity is based, internally or externally. When it happens, remember to turn to God for care and for support. Next Sunday, we look at another issue that causes fear in the hearts of many, and that is the fear of the future. The future. Hopefully you'll be in church next Sunday as we look at this fear. Let's bow for a word of prayer. God, we know that David would come out of that cave. You would provide that pillar of support and confidence for him. Through your friendship with him, David would become king. And he would go on and do some wonderful things as king for his country. But at the time when he was in that cave, reeling from being rejected, we know that his heart was heavy. We thank you for the words that he wrote in the psalm, words that we can identify with, because sometimes we too have felt as if no one cared for us. We too have felt all alone. But help us to remember, as David would discover, that we are not alone, that you are more than able to be our friend, to help us pick ourselves back up, and to move on in the strength of our relationship with you. Help us to remember, Lord, that you want us to enjoy the fullness of life. But that fullness is restricted and hampered by fear. This is our prayer. We ask it in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.